Our region's business is sponsored by PNC for the achiever in you.
We're on the road today in Somerset County, Pennsylvania to celebrate a centennial, the centennial of the Georgian Inn at Somerset. Well, actually not the inn and the restaurant that currently occupies the building, but the centennial of the construction of the actual house, DB Zimmerman's house, one of the most historic and visible buildings anywhere in Somerset County. In fact, if you've ever traveled the Pennsylvania Turnpike through Somerset, you could not have missed it. It stands on a hill opposite the city. And over the last few years, it's been beautifully restored into a hotel and a restaurant. And the man who made that happen is a guy named Charles Charrie, who really took ownership of this building and has done a fantastic job to bring it back to life in this new life. And welcome. Thanks for hosting us today, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I got to ask you, how did this come about? I know this building has been here in the middle of sort of a business park kind of development for a couple of decades. What made you see opportunity here for a hotel and a restaurant?
Well, I was doing a development in a nearby area and continued to see the building at the top of the hill. And I had heard it was for sale, which piqued my interest, and didn't want it to compete with what I was doing, so come up and took a look at it.
So you were doing an inn or a hotel or something in another part of the region?
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
And was a little concerned about that. But immediately when you see the building and you walk inside of it, we knew at that time what the potential could be. And acquiring the property in 2010 was a surprise to us of the history of it and a lot to what it had stood for now almost 100 years.
Yeah, well, yeah, tell me a little bit about that history. A guy was named DB Zimmerman. He was a native son, but he made a lot of money out west, as I understand it.
He's a remarkable story because at 14 years old, he was teaching in a one-room schoolhouse to younger children.
He was a teacher at 14.
Teacher at 14 years old, here in Somerset.
Yeah.
And the teachers had given him a magazine and said, take this home and read it, and you'll be teaching this to the younger children. During the reading of it, to get used to it, he looked at it and said that there is an article in here. It's a boom in cattle in the West. And of course, we're talking the 1800s, so that was a big deal.
Yeah, the Wild West.
Yes. And went to his father and said, I need enough money to get on the train, which is now the Pennsylvania Turnpike, go west and find out what this is about. There's a lot of the history from that point forward. I don't know a lot of where his thoughts were.
But he made cattle ranching in North Dakota, later came home and I guess did coal mining here.
Exactly.
Back at home.
He was in 9 states in the West.
Okay.
And there he became the largest independent cattle rancher in America before 50 years old when he came back to Somerset.
Unbelievable.
Kept the cattle, had wife, son, and daughter, opened 3 coal mines in the area, started coal towns, and put his son to work there, and kept both of them for many years till he passed.
A very successful guy at a relatively young age, in a position to build what has to be the most impressive house, at least of its era, in Somerset County.
It has tremendous amount of history, not only from the time it was built, but all the activities here as well. We do get a fair amount of dignitaries that come through. It sort of follows the pattern of what they had back then. His coal went to Pittsburgh, of course, to the steel mills, so all the early owners of the steel mills stayed here on the 3rd floor. It was actually designed that way. It was truly a guest floor.
Well, and you think about today, and I got to ask you about the business rationale behind restoring this, which is no trivial task, and then bringing it back to life as a hotel. There's a lot of economic activity happening here today in Somerset County. I think about the energy business. I think about people passing through on the turnpike. Clearly, you see an opportunity for this to be a very successful hotel.
Yes. Because of the size, we're able to do something that in most hotels, it's much more difficult to do. You know, today, we kind of taken it back to the era when the hotel and restaurant were part of the attraction of staying at the hotel. So that was a big part of it, and it does feed very well to businesses. So during the early part of the week, in the day, we have a lot of luncheons for businesses. They turn it into more of a business meeting. They do bring their out-of-town guests here. And that plays out most of the week. And then on the weekends, it's the travelers. And then all during the week in the evening and even in the afternoons are our locals. So, yeah, works out well.
And you opened it in the middle of the recession, right? 2010 or so.
That piqued some interest too.
Yeah, but it's gone okay.
Who would do that? Yes,
well,
exactly.
Who would do that? But it's worked out.
It has, and it's also part of it. I mean, the stability and history of the building and being able to put the business in a position that it's a part of the business. And that works out very well. And we have the model designed to show respect for the building and its history and what it's done here. So that works out pretty well.
Yeah, well, it's
We're very
really
happy with that.
exciting. I mean, congratulations. It's
Thank you.
wonderful to see a terrific old building restored and with a whole new life. Chuck Charrie from the Georgian Inn. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll be back in the studio in a minute or two with a little dollars and cents. Stay with us.